Let's review the graph of reciprocal and reciprocal squared functions. If you recall its basic form, f of x equals 1 over x. Of course, is my reciprocal function. Notice that this function doesn't cross y equals 0, doesn't cross or touch x equals 0. So as I get closer to 0, the graph goes to negative infinity. If I try to approach 0 from the right, the function goes to positive infinity. Also, when x goes to negative infinity, the smaller the x, the values of the function attempts to 0. The bigger the x, the values of the function attempts to 0 as well. If you recall the definition of asymptote, this is exactly that. This one will exhibit a vertical asymptote at x equals 0, and it will exhibit a horizontal asymptote at y equals 0. Okay, the reciprocal squared, 1 over x squared. It never crosses the negative world because we're squaring the input. Never touches 0. The smaller the x, the function will attempt to go to 0. As I approach 0 from the left or from the right, the function goes to positive infinity. So once again, it has the same behavior. This guy will exhibit the vertical asymptote at x equals 0 and the horizontal asymptote at y equals 0. So let's check the graph. Let's look at the graph of these three functions. The first one, 1 over x plus 3. Since I'm adding 3 to the x, to the input, this function shifts 3 units to the left. Okay, so we shift the function 3 units to the left. So this is indeed my asymptote x equals negative 3. And the function will be here. Here and here. Notice that the domain stays not the same because before the original domain was all real numbers except 0. Since now I push it 3 units to the left, the new domain will be all real numbers except negative 3. Still the range, all real numbers except 0. And once again, of course, y equals 0 remains my horizontal asymptote, x equals negative 3, my new vertical asymptote. This one, we move the graph 2 units to the right and 4 up. So 2 units to the right. So now x equals 2 will be my new asymptote instead of x equals 0. And I push the graph 4 units up. So now my new horizontal asymptote is not y equals 0, rather y equals 4. And my graph will be here. So the domain of real numbers except 2, the range of real numbers except 4. Both domain and range change because, of course, we move the graph horizontally and vertically as well. This one, very similar to the 3, we push the graph 4 units to the left. So this is my new asymptote, x equals negative 4. We push the graph 1 unit down. So this is my new asymptote, y equals negative 2. And of course, the quote unquote boomerang was supposed to be in quadrant 1 and 3, but because of the negative, we flip it, we reflect the function. So the new function will be in our new quadrant 2 and in my new quadrant 4. Instead of quadrant 1 and 3, now it's quadrant 2 and quadrant 4. Still the domain of real numbers except negative 4, range of real numbers except negative 1. Okay, so that would be it. Let's try 3 more examples. Oh boy, big mistake. Let's try 3 new examples. What about x to cube, this one square, and this one square. Okay, so once again, is the square function shifted 3 units to the left. So now my new function is, of course, this. To asymptote, x equals -3, y equals 0, horizontal, x equals vertical. Domain from 0 excluded to infinity. The domain 0 to infinity, and the range, I'm sorry, never mind. The domain, all real numbers except -3. So all real numbers except -3, and the range from 0 to infinity, excluding 0 to infinity. Now we have x minus 2 squared plus 4. Same old, the graph gets pushed 2 units to the right and 4 units up. To the right, 4 units up. Still my horizontal vertical asymptote x equals 2, horizontal asymptote y equals 4. Yet my new graph will look like here. So what is my domain? All real numbers except 2, and my new range will be from 4 to infinity. Last but not least, if I have x plus 4 squared, so 4 to the left, 1 down, it got shifted, so the old function would be in quadrants 1 and 2. Since it got shifted now, the function will be at quadrant 3 and 4. To asymptote, x equals -4, y equals -1, as I said before. Now the domain is all real numbers except -4, and the range bottoms up from -infinity to -1, excluding -1. So those are the graph of reciprocal squared with their domain and range.